What is going on, boys and girls of YouTube? We are doing a tier list, but we're doing it a little different this time around. We're catering it heavily towards new players to Smite or MOBAs, to lower level players. When I say that, I'm not trying to say you're bad. Experience is a big part of MOBAs. Smite also introduces a lot more mechanical play than your traditional MOBAs. So it has a learning curve, extreme time-based learning curve. So this tier list is catered towards people pretty much sub like 4K in Smite 2, 4K SR, which I think is like Obsidian. So if you are Diamond and below, this probably caters more towards you than anyone of the higher ranked players for multiple different reasons. The idea of this is to show you and tell you, hey, play these characters because they're easier to understand, they're really good, but maybe they aren't as hard as, you know, another god that might have been S in a regular tier list. If you want to follow the regular tier list, that still applies. That applies to people who are playing the game with the knowledge of what they need for matchups, for builds, for positioning. This one is going to be more towards just simplicity. All right, that is the idea, that is the goal, that is the plan. So we have new player tier list. You guys might be able to tell me what I should title these from now on, because to me it's average player tier list, I guess, or maybe below that. So I'm gonna do average player tier list for right now. Okay, so S tier, top picks, top bans, simple. A tier, always good regardless of matchups. B tier, good but might have bad matchups, or matchups are more matchup dependent. C tier, hyper situational. D tier, bad but you're not trolling the team. F tier, trash, you are trolling the team. So Achilles is B tier. He's a very simple god, but he's not very strong. There is a mechanic in his kit, which is the auto attack canceling between these three. If you don't do that, he's not worth playing. So that is why I have him in B tier for your average player. He is also somewhat matchup dependent. He is not a hyper pressure god, so if you don't know how to play without pressure, you kind of get worked. Agni, a more mechanical god. Agni can be played in mid, ADC, and jungle. I'd say as a mid lane god for your just everyday player, it's a solid pick, has bad matchups, but it's an okay pick. Aspect, which is how you play jungle and ADC, turns you into like this auto attack ability character. It's a lot more difficult, and we've seen that because it was broken at one point and low level players still couldn't figure it out. So we're gonna leave it in B for now. Aladdin, this is a top tier god in the game. However, for new players, I genuinely would put it in B. There is a lot of knowledge around positioning and play style. This god plays very weak and low pressure early game. So you play around your teammates and you have to create your own opportunities by extending team fights out. It's not just a rush them down style. That causes you to have bad matchups. Hyper pressure gods will kill you. They will bully you early game. So that's why I'm putting him in B for this tier list. In a regular tier list, he's S tier. He's banned every single game. But it is that difference in understanding limitations, farming to late game, you know, how to use your ult correctly, how to use your kit correctly, how to play around patience. That is something you learn over a lot of time. Amaterasu, A tier jungle, wouldn't play it anywhere else. It's an auto attack god, rush them down. So a lot of people always ask, what does W key mean? W key means you're holding forward, you're running at them. You know, you're holding your joystick forward, you're holding W key down, you're literally just running at them and holding left click for the most part. There's obviously abilities mixed in there, but Ama is super. Pop your 2, dash them, auto 2, they're dead. It honestly, in that style of play, there aren't a lot of bad matchups. It's a very good jungler because of clear. You clear fast, you get pressure off of it. Your rotations around the map are good because you're faster off of your first ability. She is good for your average player and honestly should be played in most ranked games when you are trying to play an auto attack god. Honor is a solid god, but way more mechanical. Like probably the second most mechanical hunter, I think, in the game. I'm like processing. It's Ul is probably the more mechanical god. You can still play on the aspect, just hold left click. You throw up your 1, they're slowed, you auto them a bunch. So that is why I'm putting Honor in B and wouldn't put him any lower. But he is a more difficult god to play. I mean, even at high levels, I see a lot of high level, you know, 4 to 5K plus players not really play on her correctly. Mechanics in Smite 2 were made a little easier than Smite 1, but some of these characters still just don't translate the same. Anubis. This is a top tier low level player. I hate saying it, but it is the case. Low level players or average players don't build anti-heal. They don't understand how much damage Anubis 1 outputs. A lot of people don't even realize Anubis can move in his 1, because that's the difference from Smite 1 to Smite 2. Anubis has had and always had a high win rate in average to lower level Smite games, in Smite 1 into Smite 2, and it is still apparent in Smite 2. Play it. Get used to the pressure, get used to landing the abilities. The mechanics are not super hard. It's really fairly simple. Anubis is up there as a top tier god. Aphrodite should not be played by your average player. It shouldn't even be played by high level players. Mechanically, its positioning is crazy. Builds change every single match, and if they aren't perfect builds, you get exploited for it. I don't think there's any reason to play Afro. It's a bad mid, it's a bad solo, and it's a very low level support. Apollo is hard to place. He's a very good hunter. His passive is insanely strong. You are able to split push, which I think is really valuable in the lower level games. It is one of the better hunters in the game. Definitely a top 5 hunter, just overall outside of your average player tier list and your regular tier list, a top 5 hunter for sure. Really, it's about using the mez correctly and being able to land auto attacks. And I think if someone has the mechanics to play a shooter, you should get down auto attacks for sure. So I like Apollo. Ares. I would put Ares probably, it's hard for me. I almost would put Ares lower because of how difficult people, like the difficulty people have hitting the chains. So aspect Ares is decent. It's a little, people hate on it a little too much. It changes your 2 to a stun, which causes you to lose protections. I'd say that version of Ares is far better for low level players because it sets up your chains. You stun them and you automatically hit the chains every time. However, Ares is a low mobility guardian where you have to know how much damage you do, you have to know how much damage you take, and that makes it more limiting. It's also not as simple as some of these other guardians that we will talk about. So I'll put him in B. I can see an argument being made to put him lower because of the mechanical play and how much people struggle with him. Artemis is a top tier low level hunter. I'd put it in S tier. You press alt, you're immune, you press 2, you're faster, and you just auto attacking people. You run them down. That run them down style, which we see from Anubis, we see from Artemis, we see from Amaterasu, that puts these gods at a higher tier when you're talking about your average level player and below. I don't like Artemis. I don't think Artemis is a good high level hunter because you are able to be dove very easily. But in average to low level games, when people are being run at, they run away. They don't react with damage and CC. They try to run and it causes them to die. High level players group up and turn on you when you're doing these things and you get punished for it. That is the difference and why I'm placing Artemis a lot higher. Athena, I think Athena is a top level support. You quite literally just press 2 in front of people. Stop trying to do your 3-2 combo. Just taunt people when your teammates are around and you've done your job. You also have a global ult to turn every single engagement in a lane, any gank, any fight that's away from a grouping in your favor. It's very easy to play. It's super easy to play, always has been. Awilix, I'd put Awilix down into B tier. More mechanical, using the 2 to immune the correct abilities is really big, and that is not something that will be consistent at this level of play, and that's why I have Awilix in B. Bacchus, probably B tier as well. Similar to the run them down style support, you still have mechanics as well as you're full committing. So if you're full committing in the wrong times, you're gonna die. If you're not building correctly, you're definitely gonna die. So that's why I have Bacchus in B. I'd almost want to put Bacchus in C because of how difficult it probably is for most people to play. Baron got huge buffs in the last patch, but in my opinion, it doesn't bring it up for low level players. You're a low mobility god. If you miss anything, you are going to be turned on and killed. And if you ever ult in the wrong spot, your ult gets wasted very easily. So I'm gonna put Baron in B tier. Bellona I like in the solo lane, Another it's a W key character. You run at them, you ult forward, you ult in place, you turn and burn, you press left click. Very simple god. Obviously you want to target hunters. This is gonna hard counter bad hunter players and you will have a good time. Kabrakan, I'd probably put Kabrakan down here in situational. Kabrakan gained more mechanics. They're not hard mechanics. You have a stun on your 1, you have 2 stuns on your 2, a lot of damage on your 2. My issue with it is, I say situational because your average player ults wrong in one fight, he kills their teammates. Your average player plays a low mobility god like Kabrakan where they're running at them and then they don't realize no one else is around, they get turned on very easily. They build too much damage because they think this is a damage character, they die instantly. So I'm gonna put Kabrakan down in a C tier. Serb, Another mechanical god that people struggle with, the 2 is obviously very easy, but using the 1 and landing the stun is so uncommon at mid-level play and below. It's crazy. Like, honestly, I feel like if I go into a low-level game, it's 1 out of 5 stuns land. It's ridiculous. CERN. I think CERN is a solid ADC because you have a big, you can't really miss the 2. Like, you can miss the cripple part of the 2, but you're gonna hit the 2. You're gonna hit your ultimate. The issue is your average player is not going to use the 1 correctly. Cycling through the 1 while fighting and min-maxing that is never going to happen from your average player. And then you lack CC immunity. Your dash is just a regular short dash and you have no CC immunity. So that's why I'd put CERN here. I have the ability to do aspects and I will probably go through and do them after this. So we'll talk about that after. Chalk, high tier. It's a W key ability god. You run at them, you press alt, you press 1, you press 2, they're dead. Cupid, similar to CERN, no CC immunity, which causes you to die more, but you have a big ult, hard to miss. Heart bomb's really not that important. You have heals for yourself when you mess up. It's a solid god, but it's gonna have the downsides. Then very high decision-making god. So I would not put this as a you should play god. Danza, in my opinion, is more of a mid and a jungle, and it is difficult to play if you don't process pressure well. If you don't know how to react when someone's in your face, you're gonna struggle with this god. It's not a good ADC to begin with. So I'm going to say situational to you handling pressure well. I would not say Danza's bad. Your base damage is very, very high. Fenrir, top tier. Another ability W key god, but you can't really miss. Like the stun is super easy to land. Your 3 is tracking. You hit the 3, it just follows them. It counters any god that doesn't have a leap. You're going to dumpster in low-level games when people don't group up. Ganesh, great support, but requires a lot of game knowledge. You have to realize your 2 gives protection to your teammates, to yourself. You have to know what abilities to silence. You have to have the presence of mind and the patience to play for the people diving your backline at the right times versus engaging at other times. Ganesh is a difficult one. Geb, very easy to play. Blink, ult, shield your teammate. You've done your job. Blink, ult, knock up, shield your teammate. That's in the backline. Super easy to play. Overthought. I think too many people overthink when they play Geb, and that's why they struggle with him. If you just take it at its core, the gods should be very, very easy for you to play as a support player. Guan. I genuinely like Guan for low-level players. Fights are slow, fights are not grouped, fights are prolonged. That gods like Guan that can spam heal over and over again in a team fight have hyper value. You have a CC immune ult where you're just kind of running at somebody. People spaz out when you're running at them with Guan ult, even if you're support. It's a solid, honestly, I'd probably put Guan up here in A. Genuinely. Hades, way too difficult for your average person to play and know when to engage because you need to go full damage Hades. If you tank Hades, you're worthless. Hekate, positioning is key. You play to spam. You cannot be out of position at all. You have no mobility. Definitely a lower tier god for sure. Herc, it's just mechanics. Most people struggle to hit the 2 combo, the 2-1 combos. Knowing your limitations is another thing. I do think he's very strong and he is a super W key god, but the mechanics separate him from these other gods. Mulan is just a bad character. You have a bunch of slow channeled out abilities. You've got a decent amount, not a high level mechanics, but a decent amount of mechanics. And we're talking about a god that falls off late game. Most level games, if they aren't started at 10 minutes, they're probably going 50 minutes. You're going to fall off. Hunbats. Honestly, I'd put him S tier if auto attack canceling wasn't such a difficult concept for average and new players. Actually, that's a lie. I'll put him in B tier non-aspect. With aspect, we'll put him higher. He has a team fight ult. You press the ult in a team fight, it's going to win you a lot of team fights. That is simple and why he's higher, where he is. Izanami is a hyper pressure hunter. You automatically win lane, which automatically makes you a top ADC player for average and low level players. The god did get buffed from Smite 1 to Smite 2, so that's a big part of this. But essentially, your autos go through minions and full clear. So you have pressure, and you win. You'll win almost every single lane just because of that. Wei, she's weak. She's semi-safe. You know what you're doing. Most people won't. And she's weak because the builds don't cater to her right now. I don't like Wei for your average or low level player. Kali, auto attack Kali. Run at people. Pop your ult. They can't kill you. Definitely an S tier character. Another W key character. Khepri for your average player, way down there. They don't. If somebody who isn't good at support plays Khepri, they sit in the back and they just try to press 3 and ult. You can't play like that. Khepri has to engage fights. Then in the mix of the fight has to be able to slightly disengage back to the back line to be a supportive character and be in position to ult. You have to know when that time is. You also have to have the mechanics and the knowledge of when you can start a fight versus you need to play back. Not a fan of people playing Khepri at low level. Honestly, just difficult to land abilities and difficult to position on for your average player. I really don't recommend Kulkin. Loki, another W key ability character. It has a stealth. Anytime you're stealth, people start spazzing when they're playing against you. Definitely a high tier jungler for low level players. Medusa, a much better hunter for low level players and new players, because you are a full blown I'm committed god. Your dash can get blocked, so you're not really trying to disengage from fights. You're essentially dashing in for damage. It sets up your 1, it sets up your 2. You're ulting in the middle of team fights, an AoE ult. It is 100% a hunter you play when you aren't very confident in your positioning, because you know you're just gonna full commit to every fight. Mercury's just weak right now. When he gets buffed, he'd be a better god. I'd probably put him in B tier, but I'm gonna say situational because I know the buffs are coming currently. He's just like, you play crit, you hit really hard. He definitely does better in the level games, but he's so buggy and just weak right now that I'd say here for now. When he gets buffed, if it's buffed enough, he's going up to A tier. Merlin, oh baby, that aspect Merlin I'd say has maybe some potential. Way too difficult to play for average player. Way too difficult. Your cooldowns are longer. Your ult stance swap is longer. If you throw your abilities out and miss, you're essentially just standing there for 20 seconds doing nothing. Do not recommend playing Merlin as a newer player. Not saying don't learn it, just say if you're trying to win. Mordred, I like Mordred. There's some mechanical play there. You have to learn how to use the dash, which is his 5th ability essentially. It's your jump key, is key bound to dash. Whenever you hit an ability on a god, you can dash afterwards. You need to be using that. That is a learning curve, but the rest of his kit is fairly easy, and he is a super run at you spam abilities character. I like him for that. Neath, top tier, new player, mid laner. You don't have to leave the lane, you can press ult. That's why. It's that simple. You're also very safe, and you win most matchups. You're one of the top. This is one of the top mid laners in the game in general, and it just carries through because of the ease of the god into, you know, that new player, average player gamer. Nem, people struggle with Nem's dash when they're new or average. Nem has no CC immunity. Using the shield to block and counter damage correctly is a big part of her kit, as well as auto attack canceling. So that's why I'm putting her in B. I do think there is a simplicity there when you're just talking about ulting, autoing, and 2ing and autoing. But when you're talking about using the other abilities, you realize the depth that these new players fail to pick up is there. Nuwa is just bad, so I wouldn't play her. She just doesn't do anything. She used to be the top new player mid lane god, but she's too weak to play right now. Odin doesn't do enough for you to stay relevant throughout a match. I'd put him down in D tier. Pele, another very, very easy to play jungler, and even in the solo lane, another full committed god. That's why we have her up here. Poseidon doesn't do enough damage for you to be playing right now, and mechanically, you need to be in the position to ult, hit your 2, hit your 1, but also not too in position to get caught out. You have no CC immunity. Bad god for new players. Bari's one of the best gods in the game. The problem is there's a fair level of difficulty to her kit, or depth to her kit. It's really hard to break down by just telling you, but learning how her she doesn't have mana or whatever. She doesn't use mana. She builds up rage or whatever it's called. And when it procs, it causes you to go to a different state where you get another use of an ability. So you get a multiple of one ability out. It makes her hard to play around. And honestly, I might put her in C tier because of the mechanics. She's very good, but very hard for new players to play around. Ra. When I did a tier list the other day for high level players, some people were mad because I put Ra in B. I put him in B because he plays around one specific build. He's a mid laner. Don't play him anywhere else. Plays on one specific build. He needs 4 items to come online, and outside of that, he's pretty mid tier in terms of damage. I wouldn't expect a new player, average player, to consistently hit the ult or consistently hit the 1. However, I know new players and average players are dove a lot, and as a ranged character, you end up fighting in melee range a lot just because your positioning is bad. The build is on Smite Source. It's basically a nimble ring build. This item makes you gain more attack speed based on the amount of int you have. You build int because you're a magic damage god, and that's what you scale off of. Now your 2 turns your autos into abilities for 4 seconds. So more attack speed means more of that going out. That ability is the hardest hitting ability you have, in my opinion, and it makes it have a lot of potential. I think because of that, I'd like to put Ra in A. Now I'm going to argue against myself here and just kind of play a little bit safer. I'm going to put Ra into B because the 1 and the ult are more than likely not going to get used by you a lot. If you are playing Ra, wait for CC to consistently hit the ult. You know, a stun's coming up, playing that ult off of it. But then whenever you're being dove, you do have an advantage over a lot of mages that people don't realize. So that's why I have Ra there. Rama's too weak to play right now, Scylla doesn't come online early enough, so you're going to struggle. Sobek is a top tier support. Simple. You have a very good laning phase, and you have an ability that plucks one person and tells your whole team to kill that one person. And you have a knockback, so you can knock them back, that puts them up in the air, and then you can one them, which is your pluck. You can't miss it. Like you should never miss that. If you knock them up first and then pluck them out of it, you should never miss it. That is really valuable for players to see, hey, this character's who we're killing. I'm tossing them into you, you automatically kill them. Soul, you miss the ult, you're worthless in a team fight. I would not recommend playing Soul. Susano, way too many auto attack canceling abilities and really just kit knowledge that you need to play him. So I'm putting him in C. If you have that kit knowledge, he's great. He does a ton of damage. His downside is no CC immunity in his kit. However, if you don't know auto attack canceling and you don't use auto attack canceling every single time on every ability on Susano, he is not worth playing. Thanatos. I like Thanatos for low level players. You essentially scythe, throw your one at somebody and they panic and run away. And then if your team is doing anything, you can spam executes off of it, and it's great. The Morrigan, way too difficult to play. Probably the hardest character in the game to play overall. So would not recommend it. Thor, fair amount of mechanics. Most people struggle with the ult, but there is some simplicity to the kit because your 3 is an AoE spin on top of somebody. You can't really mess that up. It's the 2-1 combos, the stun full combos, the auto attack canceling that puts Thor into B tier for me. I almost would put him in C, but because of the 3, it brings him up to B. Ul, I would say Ul is top 3 hardest characters in the game, not Morrigan, probably second or third. A lot of mechanics there, a lot of mechanics. If you're capable of hitting your axe, you should be able to do the combo. Most players are not able to do that, so that's why Ul is in D tier. Vulcan, high damage character, but no safety. I like Vulcan because you essentially just spam your 1 and your 3 on cooldown. Very good for new players. Yamoja, the hardest to play Guardian in the game. Don't do it. Even high level players can't play her correctly. Ymir, probably the easiest to play Guardian in the game. Not the best, but you run up and you press 3 and 2 on somebody and they panic and you kill them. Zeus, a lot of damage. People play poorly when they're being run at by anybody, but you do die very easily. That's why I'm putting Zeus into D tier. So that's all the regular characters. Now we have to go through the aspects. I'll try to power through these. Achilles would be the same, in my opinion. I'd put Achilles into B tier. Same god, basically. That's why. Agni is very difficult for people to play. Agni aspect, people struggle to play Agni aspect. Amaterasu aspect is better than regular Ama, but they play very similarly. This is actually more simple. So maybe I'd move this Ama down to B tier. Honor aspect is what you should be playing, but it's still very difficult to play. So I'm going to put Honor in here next to himself. Apollo aspect changes everything, turns you into a health bot god, and I would not recommend playing it, and I would never recommend a new player to play this in support. Don't do it. Ares, easier to play than base Ares, and I'd put him in A tier because you run up and stun somebody, you press chains. The mechanics are the difficulty of the god is removed. Artemis, I think Artemis has to be played with her cripple trap. That's why she's an S tier, but I still think base aspect Artemis is solid and playable. I'd put it in B tier. You maybe could argue A tier as well. Athena aspect, I would not play. It's just not good enough. It's way too difficult for you to get value out of. Kiss, probably D tier, but more as a troll jungler, less as a support. Baron aspect, this is actually what I would put in B more than this one. This version of Baron I'd put in probably D tier, maybe F tier. He has no place in the game. He has no good lane to play in. Bellona aspect, very good all the time, right next to regular Bellona. It really depends on the build you're going, but I like them both. Serb aspect, I think, is very weak. It's probably better in lower level, but I think it's weak. I think even in lower level games, the ultimate pulling people and throwing them to your teammates is way more valuable than being able to breathe on people forever. However, people getting breathed on spaz and panic and just die without doing any return damage. So I would like to make the argument to put Serb up here into B tier. There you go. Here. Cool. Certain aspect, very difficult to play. Putting it in C tier because of that. It is hard to know when to play and to adjust playing from range to melee character. Chalk aspect is very good. Right up there next to regular Chalk. Cupid aspect isn't being played right now. It's just better to play regular Cupid. Danza aspect is right next to regular Danza. Danza is still difficult to play. It just changes the way the 2 works. Fender aspect isn't very good. If you are playing it in support, you'd play it. So I'd say situational to the role you're playing. Aspect Ganesha is a top tier in the game. It's a top ban in the game. However, even in the highest level, it's almost similar to Umoja. People can't play it right. They don't understand the combos. They don't understand the one-shots. It's more difficult mechanically. People struggle really hard with this, so I would not recommend playing it for your average player. It'll still work because the 2 is strong, but the ult combo is what makes it good. Geb aspect, not worth playing. Guan aspect is fine. It's right next to regular Guan. It's more supporting. You play around your heals. Hekate, just the same as regular Hekate. Too difficult to play. Herc aspect is terrible. Nobody plays it. Hunbat's aspect is A tier. I put Hunbat's in B, right? So put him here. Hunbat's aspect makes his 2 stun. No brainer for average and new players. Kali aspect. Kali's the aspect is the best ADC in the game. It's very difficult to play. I'd put it down here into probably D tier because it removes the death immunity on your ultimate. It basically makes you just auto really hard and sustain really hard. So mechanics and positioning are key. Khepri aspect, you're playing that the same as you're playing regular Khepri. It's a little better than regular Khepri, but they both are about the same at this level. Aspect Loki is worthless. Aspect Merlin is far better than regular Merlin, but still requires a crazy amount of game knowledge. So I'll put it in C situational because it's better than this, but you have to know all the abilities. You have to know the images and be able to glance at them and be able to use them, which new players aren't gonna be able to do. Average players are gonna struggle unless you main Merlin. Aspect Mordred is almost as good as regular Mordred, but it's not quite there. Reason being, non-aspect Mordred is tankier and removes protections. The other one doesn't. So you just gain an inherent advantage by playing no aspect. Aspect Neath is an ADC god. It's solid, but it's not great. Other ADCs are just better. It plays very similarly to the ability Neath, except for you have to keep your passive up, which is actually very difficult. I'd honestly put this down here to C tier. Aspect Nemesis, you have to be very, very patient around your ultimate, and that's not going to be common at that level. Aspect Nuwa. Aspect Nuwa is going to be cracked. I'll put it in A for now because it's brand new. It came out today. You're going to go a full crit build. Rage, Deathbringer, Hydras, Titan's Bane. I go Transcendence, and then my last item is usually like a cool, like some kind of cooldown item or like a Jotuns or something, just something to ult more. The ult hits very, very hard, like very, very, very hard. So it is something you play in mid, and it is something you play in ADC. It still does magic damage. So there's some value there. It has upsides and downsides. It's Nuwa, you'll die a lot, but it's not hard to press ult and win a team fight for your team in the middle late game. Pele aspect, very similar to regular Pele. Basically plays the exact same, just a little bit tankier. Poseidon, just as trash. Aspect's no different. Raw aspect is bad right now, so you shouldn't be playing it. Rama is bad right now regardless. Scylla aspect is a lot harder to track than regular Scylla, so I would not play Scylla aspect. Sobek aspect is also not good. Mainly, I think Guardians need to get a solo lane buff at some point, and then you'll see him get played. Aspect Soul is basically the same as regular Soul. You miss an ability, you're kind of cooked. I do realize that regular Soul is more auto attack based, but the second you miss an ability, you're being run at. The second you use your 3 wrong, you're being run at. I don't like it for new players. Aspect Thanatos, very similar to regular Thanatos. Plays the exact same, just gets a little bit more health. Morgan, too difficult for you to play. Don't recommend it. Thor aspect plays the exact same as regular Thor. I think I put him in B tier, right? Yep. But you trade off. I can't do this. Is whatever. You trade off being basically this is a little tankier, this is a little more damaging. Other than that, they're almost the exact same. Vulcan aspect is bad because nobody cares. You're tankier. You usually play it in support or solo. People just walk past you. They don't give a. They just don't care. And then aspect Umoja is weak. Aspect Umoja got nerfed because it was OP in arena and assault, so it is far too weak for you to be playing. So here is my new player or average player. Average, I'll do new player tier list. I'll be 13. That's where we're at. And I genuinely like, these are what you should be playing to win every game. Once you understand them at a very base level, they are all good. Same with the A tier. B tier is where you start to talk about more mechanical play, where they have a side to them where there's an easy side to them, but there's also like min-maxing and getting the most out of them is hard. And then the farther we go down, you know, we talked about it. Please use this tier list if you're new or you're struggling with your god picks. Please, 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 please. If you like the video, hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed. I'll see you in the video tomorrow, the next day, and the next day.